Hello, Joel here from Golf Monthly, and welcome to my review of the new Wilson D7 irons. And in this iron we have some new technologies that should help golfers hit the ball a little bit longer and a little bit straighter. Wilson are calling the innovation here React technology, which is essentially a combination of multiple technologies. The biggest standout technology to talk about is the power holes. We saw them on the D300 model that this replaces, and what you may remember from the power holes is that they extended all the way along the sole, into the toe and the top line as well. And there were a lot of golfers, myself included, who saw the benefit of those but perhaps didn't like the look of them down at address, whereas Wilson have addressed that. For the D7 model, you'll notice that on the sole of the long irons, 3 to 7 iron, there's actually 3 rows of power holes now, and they're only now situated on the sole. They're not on the toe and they're not on the top line as well. That contributes to what is a cleaner, sleeker looking iron. I would definitely agree they've achieved that with this iron compared to D300. You'll notice a carbon fibre kind of medallion here on the back as well. That's going to dampen the vibration. This is a 2-piece iron, so they've essentially welded the face onto the body, and that kind of wood-like construction is what gives this iron its distance. Another way golfers are going to get distance is from the lofting of this club. This is down at a whopping 28 degrees of loft, which is incredibly low. It's one of the strongest 7 irons on the market. The previous D300 7 iron was 29.5 degrees, so it's a significant strengthening of the loft here from Wilson to get you more distance. And I've been testing this iron on the GCQuad launch monitor over at Foresight HQ. I've also been hitting them here today on the range at West Hill Golf Club. I've been testing it up against the D300 7 iron. Before we talk about the launch monitor data, let's talk about the looks of this club. Like I mentioned before, it's definitely a much cleaner, sleeker looking iron. I actually really like the look of this club for what is essentially a game improvement iron. There's a little bit of offset there. It's not loads. The top line is thickish. It's not ridiculously thick. I've seen a lot thicker. Generally, it's very appealing on the eye. The one thing I would say is that even in this 7 iron, you can see the back of the sole at address, which might put some golfers off, but it doesn't necessarily put me off. Obviously, that's going to become more and more visible as the irons get longer. It's just something you need to think about. Generally speaking, I think the look of this club is very sleek and exceeds the modest price tag that it has. So that's the looks. Let's have a look at the launch monitor data to see how the performance compared to the previous D300. So I've got the iPad here with all the relevant launch monitor data. With the D7 7 iron, which is lofted at 28 degrees, as I mentioned, compared to the D300, which is at 29.5. Now, worth noting that this D7 iron has been custom built for me. It's in my spec. It is in the KBS Tour 90 shaft in stiff, compared to my D300 7 iron, which is off the shelf in terms of spec, and it is a KBS Tour 80 U-Flex. I've been doing a loads of research online and I'm not really sure what U-Flex means, to be honest, but it's probably slightly different to my KBS Tour 90 in stiff. It's also ½ an inch longer than the D300 sample I've got. So apologies for that. It's not a like-for-like test in terms of spec makeup, but hopefully you'll appreciate the comparison nonetheless. So to start with the ball speed, you'll see massive jump in ball speed from D300 up to D7, from 120 miles an hour to 124.4 miles an hour on average. That's a massive jump. You'll notice, even though the loft's a lot much stronger, the launch angle stayed pretty similar, around 20 degrees for both. Spin came down considerably with the D7, from 5,500 with the D300 down to 4,200, which is, to be fair, where I would expect a game improvement iron of this loft to be spinning. Most important thing for me, you'll notice, is that the average peak height actually went up with D7 compared to the D300, from 37 to 38 yards. And that is one thing I would notice. I was hitting balls on the range with this D7 7 iron, and the ball goes ridiculously high in the air. I love the ball flight. Really high, towering, no spin, just goes forever. And as you'll see from the carry distance, I got an average of 186 yards with a maximum shot of 190 yards compared to the D300, which was down at 171 yards on average with a maximum shot of 174 yards. So on average, it's 15 yards longer than the D300. Yes, there's a slight discrepancy in spec, and obviously the lofts are a little bit different, but for me that's a massive jump from generation to generation.
from D300 to D7. You know, this club is an absolute rocket, hitting shots here on the range and at Foresight HQ. The feel of the face is so explosive with this D7. It gets the ball up in the air so easily. Low spin, it's a recipe for distance. You've got those power holes which help the face flex a little bit more, and for me certainly seem to deliver that extra ball speed that perhaps slower swingers, game improver golfers are looking for. But the feel was surprisingly, it was explosive. It wasn't really hard. It was actually quite nice. It was lively, but it wasn't hard. It wasn't soft by any means. It was just nice and in between those two, compresses nicely, fizzes the ball off quickly, and the look of it I think is also very impressive. You've got that really wide sole here with the weight right back helping get the ball up in the air, giving you stability in the club head. Seems to be a very forgiving iron. It's quite long from heel to toe. It inspires a lot of confidence. I really don't have enough positive things to say about this iron actually. It's so easy to hit. You know, and if you're in the market for an iron set where you want more distance, more forgiveness, and you want to save a few pounds, I really do think you should consider the Wilson D7 iron set. It comes in at under £500. I can't remember the exact RRP. I think it might even be 450 for a 7-piece set. There's some incredible value for money here. I'm a big fan of what Wilson have done with this iron. It ticks a lot of boxes for the game improvement golfer, so I recommend you do give it a try if you get the chance. That's all from me here at West Hill. Thanks for watching, but for now, it's goodbye.